In the complex web of human relationships, the idea that we should never cry for someone who has hurt us is both a profound and necessary principle to live by. Emotions, as powerful as they are, can sometimes cloud our judgment, leading us to feel pity for those who have wronged us. But this is a dangerous path, one that weakens the very foundation of our character. To cry for someone who has hurt you is to submit yourself to a cycle of self-degradation, to allow the poison of another's actions to seep into your soul. It is crucial to understand that the strength of your character, your ability to endure pain and rise above it, is the only true measure of your worth. The harm others do to you may be significant, but your response to that harm is what defines you. Human nature is not inherently inclined toward kindness, and this reality can be harsh to accept. People are driven by a complex mix of self-interest, fear, desire, and unresolved inner turmoil. As such, they will often act in ways that betray or harm others, sometimes intentionally, and sometimes through mere neglect or ignorance. But this does not mean that the wounds inflicted by others should dictate the course of our lives. The sooner we recognize that people act in accordance with their own limitations and struggles, the sooner we can detach ourselves from the emotionally draining need to seek validation or understanding from them. The temptation to cry for someone who has hurt you comes from a deep emotional desire for resolution, for a sense of justice, for the hope that somehow they will understand the pain they have caused and apologize. This desire is rooted in our instinct to connect, to find mutual respect and empathy in our relationships. But when we focus on the wrongdoer, we shift our attention away from what we have the power to control: our own actions, our own growth, and our own well-being. The truth is that those who hurt us often do so because they are struggling with their own inner demons, projecting their pain onto the world around them. They are often incapable of seeing their actions from our perspective, or if they are, they may not be willing to change. Therefore, waiting for them to understand or acknowledge their wrongs can become a futile exercise, draining us of the energy we could be using to heal and move forward. If you spend too much time focusing on those who have hurt you, you are giving them power over your life. You are making them the center of your emotional universe. And in doing so, you diminish your own agency. The pain you feel in the aftermath of a betrayal, a deception, or an injustice is real, but it should not be your defining characteristic. You are more than the sum of your wounds. You are more than the people who have wronged you. It is important to acknowledge the pain, to process it, but also to recognize that you have the strength to rise above it. When you allow yourself to cry for someone who has hurt you, you are indulging in a form of self-pity. Self-pity is a seductive force, one that convinces you that you are powerless, that you have no choice but to suffer at the hands of others. But the truth is that you always have a choice. You can choose to face your pain with resilience, to turn it into a source of strength rather than weakness. Self-pity will keep you stuck in a place of victimhood, robbing you of the opportunity to grow and move on. It will make you feel small and helpless, when in reality, you have the potential to rise above even the greatest of adversities. It is essential to understand that forgiveness is not the same as condoning or excusing the behavior of others. Forgiveness is not about letting someone off the hook for their actions. Rather, it is about freeing yourself from the emotional chains that bind you to them. When you choose not to cry for someone who has hurt you, you are choosing to take control of your own emotional state. You are choosing to stop allowing their actions to dictate your feelings. You are no longer letting them hold power over you, even in the aftermath of their harm. This is an act of liberation, one that enables you to move forward with your life on your own terms. In order to truly heal, you must learn to let go of the emotional attachment to the person who has hurt you. This does not mean that you erase the impact of what has happened, but rather that you refuse to carry the weight of it any longer than necessary. You can acknowledge the injury, feel the pain, but then let it go. Holding on to it, nursing it, and revisiting it time and time again will only prolong your suffering. The longer you remain emotionally entangled with someone who has wronged you, the more difficult it will be to free yourself. The sooner you let go, the sooner you can begin the process of healing. It is important to recognize that healing does not happen instantly. It is not something that can be rushed or forced. It is a gradual process, one that requires patience and self-compassion. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question whether you are doing the right thing, moments when you feel overwhelmed by the hurt. But even in those moments, you must remind yourself that your pain is not a permanent state. It is temporary, and it is something you have the ability to overcome. One of the most profound aspects of human growth is the ability to find meaning in suffering. Pain is an inevitable part of life, but it is also a catalyst for transformation. The pain you experience from being hurt by others can become the crucible in which you forge your strength. Rather than seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance, you can choose to see yourself as someone who has faced adversity head-on and emerged stronger for it. This shift in perspective is not easy, but it is transformative. It is the difference between being crushed by the weight of your experiences and using those experiences to build a life that is defined by strength, resilience, and purpose. The idea of never crying for someone who has hurt you is not about suppressing your emotions or denying your pain. It is about acknowledging the pain and then choosing not to let it define you. It is about recognizing that while others may cause you harm, you are the one who has the ultimate power to determine how you will respond. You are the one who gets to decide whether you will let their actions steal your peace or whether you will rise above them and reclaim your power. This is not to say that you should not feel hurt or anger in response to betrayal. These emotions are natural and human, but it is about recognizing that they are not permanent states and that they should not consume you. You should allow yourself to feel your emotions. Then you must move forward. The longer you linger in your pain, the more power you give to the person who caused it. By focusing on your own healing and growth, you take away their power over you. It is also important to remember that we are all imperfect beings, each carrying our own burdens and struggles. The person who has hurt you is not exempt from this reality. They too are dealing with their own pain, their own wounds, their own inner battles. While this does not excuse their actions, it does help to put things into perspective. People are often unaware of the harm they cause, or they may act out of their own unresolved trauma. This understanding does not absolve them of responsibility, but it can help you to release the grip that their actions have on your life. When we choose not to cry for someone who has hurt us, we are choosing to prioritize our own growth and well-being. We are choosing to take responsibility for our own emotions and our own life, rather than allowing the actions of others to dictate our mood and our destiny. This is not a call for passivity or complacency, but a call for strength and resilience. It is a call to take ownership of your life, to face your pain head-on, and to rise above it. Crying for someone who has hurt you is, in a sense, an act of surrender. It is surrendering your power, surrendering your peace, and surrendering your sense of self-worth to someone who does not deserve it. Instead, you must take back your power. You must refuse to let the actions of others diminish your sense of self. Your worth is not determined by the opinions or actions of others, but by your own character, your own integrity, and your own ability to navigate life's challenges with grace and strength. It is possible to heal and to grow after being hurt. It is possible to move forward, to find peace, and to create a life that is not defined by the wounds of the past. The key to doing so is in recognizing that you are not the victim of another's actions. You are the master of your own response, and it is your response that ultimately determines the quality of your life. So, never cry for someone who has hurt you. Never give them the satisfaction of seeing you remain stuck in the pain they caused. Instead, rise above it. Take control of your own emotions, your own healing, and your own future. You are stronger than you think, and you have the power to create the life you deserve. Instead of focusing on the hurt others cause, reclaim your power by taking responsibility for how you respond to pain. Your growth and healing depend on your ability to rise above adversity, not dwell on the actions of others. Pain is inevitable, but how you choose to process it defines you. Use your suffering as a catalyst for personal growth, resilience, and empowerment, and refuse to let the actions of others control your emotional state or your life's direction. In life, one of the most empowering shifts a person can make is to take responsibility for their own responses, choices, and actions, especially in the face of adversity. This shift is profound because it transforms the way we approach challenges, difficulties, and even the hurts that others may inflict upon us. At its core, the idea of embracing personal responsibility over victimhood is about recognizing that, while we cannot always control what happens to us, we have full control over how we react to it. This principle is not just a moral stance, but a psychological and emotional framework that can profoundly change the way we live our lives. It involves taking ownership of our emotional and mental state, refusing to let circumstances or the actions of others define us or dictate how we feel or behave. The temptation to adopt a victim mentality is understandable. Life can be challenging, and many people face situations where they feel wronged, hurt, or mistreated. When we experience these feelings, it's natural to want to find someone or something to blame. When we blame external factors or other people for our discomfort or pain, we absolve ourselves of responsibility, which might seem comforting in the short term. But in the long term, this mindset only serves to keep us stuck in a cycle of helplessness and frustration. The victim mentality makes us feel powerless, as though we have no agency or control over our own lives. It convinces us that we are at the mercy of external forces, whether it be other people's behavior, societal norms, or circumstances beyond our control. However, embracing personal responsibility involves a radical shift away from this passive perspective. It is about recognizing that, regardless of the pain we may feel or the injustices we may encounter, we always have the power to choose how we respond. No matter how bad the situation may seem, we can always choose to act in a way that maintains our dignity, integrity, and sense of self-worth. This is not to say that we should ignore or minimize the pain caused by others or by life's challenges. It is simply acknowledging that our response to that pain is something we control. One of the key elements of this shift is understanding that we are not defined by what happens to us, but by how we choose to handle those things. Every day we are presented with choices about how to view our experiences and how to engage with the world. Even in the face of tremendous hardship, we always have the option to choose how we perceive the situation and how we react to it. A person who chooses to take responsibility for their emotional and psychological state refuses to let external circumstances dictate their internal peace. When we embrace responsibility, we recognize that we have the ability to change our circumstances, or at the very least change our perception of them. This is incredibly liberating because it means that we are not at the mercy of others or of fate. Instead, we become active participants in our own lives. We recognize that while we cannot always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond to it. This perspective empowers us to take control over our emotions, actions, and decisions, rather than feeling like we are victims of our circumstances. Embracing personal responsibility means that we no longer seek validation or approval from others to feel worthy or justified in our emotions. We do not wait for someone to apologize for their actions or for the universe to right the wrongs that have been done to us. Instead, we take responsibility for our own emotional well-being, refusing to allow anyone's actions or the circumstances of life to determine our happiness or peace of mind. By doing so, we free ourselves from the grip of resentment, bitterness, and anger, which often arise when we feel wronged or mistreated. These emotions are natural responses to hurt, but when we hold on to them, they rob us of the energy and peace we could be using to move forward in a healthier, more empowered way. One powerful example of embracing personal responsibility is the ability to forgive. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as excusing or condoning someone's hurtful actions, but it is, in fact, a deliberate choice to free ourselves from the emotional burden that holding on to anger or resentment causes. Forgiveness is not about the person who wronged us. It's about us and our ability to let go of the negative emotions that hold us captive. When we forgive, we choose to take responsibility for our emotional state, refusing to let someone else's actions dictate how we feel. By letting go of the anger or hurt, we are not giving permission for the wrong to have been committed, but rather we are freeing ourselves to move forward in a way that promotes peace, healing, and personal growth. Of course, embracing personal responsibility does not mean that we ignore or deny the impact of the hurt others cause. It's important to acknowledge our emotions and give ourselves permission to feel them. Anger, sadness, frustration, and disappointment are valid reactions to being wronged, and it's essential that we process these emotions in a healthy way. But embracing responsibility means that we do not let these emotions consume us or control our actions. We recognize that while we may feel hurt, we are not helpless. We are not at the mercy of our emotions. We can choose how we respond and whether we will let the actions of others define our sense of self. An important part of embracing personal responsibility is understanding that life is full of challenges, and we will all encounter situations that test our resilience. The key is to focus on the lessons that can be learned from these challenges, rather than focusing on the unfairness of the situation. Life does not always unfold the way we expect or desire, and sometimes the actions of others may cause us deep pain. But even in these moments, there is an opportunity for growth. Every difficult situation offers us a chance to develop our emotional intelligence, our problem-solving skills, and our ability to remain calm and grounded in the face of adversity. When we embrace responsibility, we see challenges as opportunities to learn, adapt, and become stronger versions of ourselves. The concept of responsibility also extends to the way we view our relationships. It is easy to fall into the trap of blaming others for the breakdowns in our relationships or for the hurt we experience. While it's true that others' actions can cause us pain, it's also true that we have a role to play in the dynamics of every relationship. We are not passive observers of our relationships. We are active participants. By taking responsibility for our part in these interactions, we are able to develop healthier and more fulfilling relationships. This does not mean that we take on the blame for things that are not our fault, but rather that we recognize where we have the power to improve the relationship or how we can better communicate, set boundaries, or heal from past wounds. Personal responsibility means that we do not wait for others to change in order for us to feel better or to have better relationships. Instead, we take ownership of our own actions, behaviors, and attitudes, which gives us the power to improve the quality of our connections with others. When we shift our focus from victimhood to responsibility, we also change the way we view our own potential. A victim mindset limits our ability to grow because it keeps us focused on our limitations and on what we cannot control. We become paralyzed by the idea that life is happening to us rather than recognizing that we have the ability to shape our own futures. By embracing responsibility, we begin to see ourselves as the creators of our own destiny. We become more proactive, more solution-oriented, and more committed to our own personal development. We recognize that we have the power to choose our path, to define our goals, and to work toward creating the life we want to live. One of the most powerful ways that embracing responsibility impacts our lives is by improving our mental and emotional well-being. When we stop blaming others for our unhappiness or misfortune, we free ourselves from the burden of carrying that resentment or anger. We are no longer at the mercy of the people who have wronged us or the events that have hurt us. Instead, we are empowered to choose our emotional state, regardless of external circumstances. This is incredibly liberating because it means that we no longer need to wait for the world to change or for others to apologize in order for us to feel peace. We can create that peace ourselves simply by taking responsibility for how we respond. The benefits of embracing personal responsibility are profound and far-reaching. It shifts our mindset from being passive victims of circumstance to being active creators of our own lives. It allows us to let go of negative emotions, to heal from past wounds, and to move forward with a sense of empowerment and purpose. It improves our relationships by encouraging us to take responsibility for our actions and our part in the dynamics of those connections. And perhaps most importantly, it allows us to live with integrity, resilience, and a deep sense of self-worth. Pain, in all its forms, is an unavoidable part of the human experience. Whether it's the pain of losing a loved one, the pain of betrayal, the emotional turmoil caused by failure, or the suffering brought on by rejection, every person will encounter moments where they feel overwhelmed by their circumstances. Yet, despite its inevitability, pain does not have to be the defining feature of our lives. While it can feel like a force that is beyond our control, we also have the ability to transform that pain, not just as a reaction to hardship, but as an active choice to use it as a catalyst for growth and strength. The idea of transforming pain into strength is one that goes against our natural inclination to avoid or suppress pain. Our instincts often tell us to seek comfort and shield ourselves from discomfort, but in doing so, we may miss the opportunities that pain presents for personal growth. Just as physical muscles grow stronger when they are subjected to stress and strain, so too can our emotional and psychological resilience strengthen when we confront our pain, learn from it, and allow it to shape us in a positive way. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't mean that we should dismiss or ignore our pain. It means that we can choose how we respond to it, and through that choice, we can become better versions of ourselves. One of the most powerful aspects of pain is its ability to reveal our vulnerabilities and limitations. We may go through life thinking we are invincible, believing that we can weather any storm without cracking under pressure. But pain has a way of exposing the cracks in our armor, showing us where we are fragile, where we need healing, and where we need to grow. This revelation can be disorienting and even discouraging at first, as it often forces us to confront aspects of ourselves that we would rather avoid. However, this exposure is an essential part of the transformation process. It's in the moments of pain that we are offered the chance to examine who we truly are, to acknowledge our weaknesses, and to take responsibility for our healing. By doing so, we gain clarity on what we need to work on, what we need to let go of, and how we can become stronger and more resilient in the future. When we experience pain, it can feel as though everything around us is falling apart. We may question our worth, our decisions, or even the meaning of life itself. But what if, instead of viewing pain as something that is simply there to break us, we saw it as a tool for growth? Every painful experience offers us a chance to learn something new about ourselves and the world around us. Pain can teach us about our values, our needs, and our desires. It can help us clarify what is truly important to us and what we may need to let go of. The challenge lies not in avoiding pain, but in engaging with it and asking what lessons it has to offer. Transforming pain into strength requires a shift in mindset. Instead of seeing pain as something to be feared or avoided, we must learn to see it as an opportunity for growth. This shift is not about diminishing the significance of our suffering. Rather, it's about recognizing that we have the power to determine how we respond to that suffering. Rather than becoming victims of our circumstances, we can choose to become survivors and thrivers. We can choose to embrace the lessons that pain offers and use them to propel us forward into a stronger, more resilient version of ourselves. One of the key aspects of transforming pain into strength is accepting that pain is part of the human condition. No one is exempt from it, no matter how successful, wealthy, or powerful they may seem. We all face loss, disappointment, and hardship, but it is how we respond to those challenges that makes all the difference. When we resist or deny our pain, we only prolong the suffering. However, when we accept pain as a natural part of life, we give ourselves permission to move through it, to feel it, and eventually to release it. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means acknowledging reality and embracing the process of healing and transformation. Another crucial step in transforming pain into strength is practicing self-compassion. When we are in pain, it is easy to turn on ourselves, to criticize or berate ourselves for feeling weak or vulnerable. We may believe that we should be able to handle the situation better, or that our pain is somehow a reflection of our inadequacies. This self-criticism, however, only exacerbates our suffering and prevents us from healing. Self-compassion, on the other hand, allows us to acknowledge our pain without judgment. It allows us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a close friend who is going through a difficult time. Self-compassion creates the emotional space we need to heal, grow, and ultimately transform our pain into strength. Part of the strength that comes from pain is the development of emotional resilience. Resilience is not about being impervious to pain, it's about the ability to bounce back after hardship, to recover from setbacks, and to keep moving forward despite challenges. Pain, in this sense, serves as a training ground for emotional resilience. Each time we face pain and choose to rise above it, we build our capacity to handle future adversity. With every challenge, we learn new coping strategies, develop greater emotional intelligence, and become more adept at navigating life's inevitable ups and downs. Over time, this resilience becomes a fundamental part of who we are, helping us approach life with greater confidence and a deeper sense of inner strength. An important aspect of transforming pain into strength is the role of purpose. When we experience pain, it can sometimes feel as though there is no meaning to our suffering. We may question why we are going through what we're going through, or we may struggle to find a reason for the pain we're experiencing. However, it is often in the midst of our darkest moments that we find our deepest purpose. Pain has a way of forcing us to reevaluate our priorities, to strip away the superficial, and to focus on what truly matters. It can push us to seek meaning in our lives, to connect with our deeper sense of purpose, and to strive for something greater than ourselves. When we find purpose in our pain, we gain a sense of direction and clarity that helps guide us through the difficult times. In many cases, transforming pain into strength involves helping others who are going through similar struggles. When we experience pain and emerge on the other side, we gain valuable insights that can be used to help others navigate their own challenges. This process of sharing our experiences and offering support not only helps those around us, but also reinforces our own healing. By giving back and helping others, we create a sense of connection and meaning that can further empower us on our own journey. Helping others through their pain allows us to see that suffering is not something we have to face alone, and it reminds us that even in our darkest moments, we can still make a positive impact on the world. Another critical factor in transforming pain into strength is the importance of perspective. When we are in the midst of pain, it can feel all-consuming. It may seem as though the pain is the only thing that matters, and we can become overwhelmed by its intensity. However, as time passes, we often gain perspective on the situation. What once seemed insurmountable may eventually be viewed as a challenge that we overcame, a chapter in our lives that helped shape who we are today. The passage of time can grant us the clarity we need to see the bigger picture, to understand that pain, while difficult, is not permanent. It is part of the ebb and flow of life. This perspective allows us to find strength in the knowledge that, no matter how hard things may seem in the moment, we have the capacity to heal and move forward. Transforming pain into strength also involves building a support network. While pain can feel isolating, it is important to remember that we do not have to face it alone. The support of family, friends, or even professional counselors can provide the emotional guidance and encouragement we need to heal. By reaching out to others for support, we not only help ourselves but also reinforce the idea that we are not powerless in the face of pain. Support systems provide us with the emotional resources we need to navigate our suffering and help us maintain perspective during difficult times. Ultimately, transforming pain into strength is a process of personal empowerment. It is about taking ownership of our experiences, choosing to face our pain head-on, and refusing to let it define or limit us. It is about embracing the lessons that pain offers, and using those lessons to grow, evolve, and become more resilient. It is about finding meaning in our suffering, seeing it as an opportunity to develop greater emotional strength, and recognizing that we have the capacity to rise above it. Pain, in its most transformative form, can become the foundation of our greatest strength. By choosing to engage with pain in this way, we reclaim our power and redefine what it means to suffer. We understand that while we cannot avoid pain, we have the ability to choose how we respond to it and what we make of it. In doing so, we become stronger, more resilient, and more capable of facing whatever life throws our way.